Hello and welcome on into the second episode of the Renegades Sports Podcast. I'm Jake Gable, joined once again by Max Dinnenberg and Jacob Smedley. We had the first episode, and boy, am I excited for this second slate.
Yes.
This is going to be a fun episode. We're going to be talking about a fantasy football curse. Ooh, watch out, maybe a ghost. And we're going to be playing a really fun game with a twist on it coming up later.
But first, a new report from Major League Baseball. Jesse Rogers from ESPN reporting that Major League Baseball is interested in implementing a 6-inning minimum rule for starting pitchers, having to go at least 6 innings. But there are some exceptions. 100-plus pitches, 4+ runs allowed, or any injuries that may happen, within those 6 innings that have to be taken care of. So first, guys, I know there's a lot of rumors going around from people reacting to this, but what are your thoughts on this new report from Major League Baseball?
I will say I'm not a fan of it. I get it a little bit, maybe wanting to have bigger name starters and seeing the bigger names go longer, but I just don't see the purpose of making it mandatory to go that long. I think a 5-inning game from a starting pitcher is quality. I don't think you need to force them to throw 6 because it's part of the strategy of the game and everything. And I think it increases the likelihood of injury. I mean, making them throw more pitches, they're throwing so hard already. I don't think that the players' union will be down for it. I don't think the fans will be down for it. I have a really tough time seeing this proposal go through.
Yeah, and from a business perspective, baseball is trying to simplify things. The game is quicker now. There's not enough time now to make an even more complicated rule where casual fans have no idea what's going on with pitchers and how long they're going. And as you said, it's a 162-game season. These pitchers have to go 6 innings every start. It's going to make the playoffs really unbearable, too, if the pitchers are already dead by the time they get to October.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing both of you really brought up is the injuries. And even though there's an exception in there, the very reactionistic report here because of all of the pitchers and all of the Tommy John, UCL injuries that are going on throughout the league, really running rampant across the teams. But I think that has less to do with them not going far enough and more about just pitching and more of a developmental strategy at the minor league level. I don't think setting a regimented, hey, you have to go this amount does anything. If anything, I think it hurts and even may accelerate the injuries based on really, like you really said, Max, too, with the playoffs and just pushing guys to their limit really early on in the season.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention the first time. I read in the report that they proposed it as a way to prevent injuries potentially because now pitchers, knowing they have to throw 6 innings, won't try to throw 100 coming out the gates. And they want them to start throwing 92, 93 in hopes of extending their run. I kind of see the theory in it. And then like in the minors, they'll have to start developing that same mindset, and maybe that can prevent injuries. But my problem with that is a guy that just gave up a couple runs and knows he's holding back his fastball a little bit to try to go 6 innings, who might be at the end of the roster, and he's like, I don't want to get sent down to the minors. I need to keep my job. I'm going to speed up to the highest I can throw. Boom, now you have this guy in the 3rd inning trying to make up for a couple runs he gave up early. Now he's trying to throw 98 for 4 innings in a row. I think it will backfire.
Yeah, the competitiveness not really factored into that decision. Well, we came up with some proposed changes. Rob Manfred, if you're watching, if you're listening, please, we've got some ideas here. We haven't shared it with us before, so we're giving a full, clean slate, giving our thoughts, guys, not even just to this specific change, but to baseball as a whole. They've added the pitch clock, added these changes of 3-batter minimum, runner at second, and extra innings to end games quicker. With this, what do you guys thinking could be done to help the game?
I'll go first. So I'm taking it as Rob Manfred just push the proposal across to my side of the desk, and for the sake of baseball, I'm on the side and I have to make a counteroffer. Counteroffer I came up with was get rid of the 6 innings, but I'll come halfway to you and adjust a different rule. The 3 batter minimum that is currently put on place for any pitcher, starter, closer, unless obviously you close and win the game. Those setup men, the middle relievers, I'd extend that to 6 batters. That way, your starter might not go 6, but he's going to eat up a couple innings no matter what, unless you're throwing out the opener strategy. But with this, he has to throw to at least 6 batters. That way, you get more time of them, and you get more time of all pitchers, not just the starter. And I think it's a good, segue from that, because what are you doing to relievers if the starter has to go 6? That means only 3 relievers are going to pitch, or 3 or 4 relievers are going to pitch each game. I think now you can make a bigger name for each pitcher on their own. And also I have a little, not modification, but how you had the 100 pitches, you could leave or injury. I have that same thing, but it's going to be for 6 batters. If you throw 30 pitches before that, you can pull them. If they get injured, of course, you can pull them. Or if they give up 2 runs. So 2 runs isn't as bad as 4 runs, and it would be only in a shorter time. So, Rob, that is my counter offer. I don't know if you guys like that, but...
Question,
Yes.
Question, Mr. Gable in the
Yes.
commissioner's office. Question. So you're kind of like shrinking down almost, like going, you mentioned the different stuff from the original report, kind of shrinking it down to middle relief guys. Is that what okay, I just wanted to clarify. I like it.
It applies
Yeah.
to the starter as well.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I like it. And I think, too, going off of that, like they could even add a little twinkle to the idea of like twinkle. 2 or maybe 3 guys per 6 inning. Like say again, the starter throws 100 pitches, or it's like 2-3 innings, had a bad start. I mean, see maybe how it goes, but it could maybe be implemented again in the minor league system. But you add, 2 guys have to get through 6 innings or something like that. We can add in like certain like stipulation players that appear on the mound in those 6 innings.
Yeah, the only fear with that, this is, playing like worst case scenario. Let's say your starter in 2 innings gives up 5-6 runs. Oh gosh, we have to pull him out. Mm-hmm. And then if you have that rule of the second guy has to come in, now he has to throw 4 innings no matter what. And he's like, oh man, I was expecting him to maybe come in the 5th inning and have to finish out the 5th and 6th. So, I mean, I like it, and that's probably worst case scenario, but maybe a little tweak there, maybe like 3 guys, very adjustable. We are, we're not set in stone. At least I'm not. I don't know about your guys' proposals.
Well, I'll tell you what, yours is better than what originally is being.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Being asked. That's what I'm saying.
Should I run for commissioner?
I think
why not?
You should. Rob's done a few years, I think, right? Well, you got my vote, Jake. Well, here's my thoughts, guys. A little variation to what is also in place, kind of similar to Jake, and that kind of like building off of it, taking a little kind of piece of it, is a monthly quota. If they really want, if Rob's like, give me the 6 innings for the starters, or give me death, like in the old days, like as the commissioner. You know what I'm saying? He rules by that landscape. Yeah. I'm saying if you want to implement it and not have it as an every game, you're burning these guys out every game and forcing that monthly quota with team incentives that you can have in place, starting it at a minor league level, working it up. Say you have 27 games in a month, you can have a 10 games out of that month, 6 plus innings from a starter, something like that. You can work around some exceptions with that, but you can have some incentives similar to what the NBA does with that NBA Cup, with some maybe financial incentives. That's what I'm thinking. I think if they really are set on this, getting more guys in, getting, showcasing these pitchers, there's something that the team can work for, and you're not really pressing the individual pitchers.
Yeah, I like that. some teams, like the Phillies, the Mariners, with really good starting pitching staffs, I think they'll hit that quota without even trying, trying to push their starters a little bit more. So I think some guys will some teams are just going to hit that naturally.
Yeah.
And then those teams that are in that in-between range, maybe they're at 8, they might push a guy one more inning and be like, hey, we were going to pull him in the 5th, but if you can go one more inning, then we can reach that quota. And, maybe it doesn't go bad. Worst case scenario, you pull them, you don't reach the quota, but you save your game, and you at least tried for it. I like it.
I like it. I think strategy is something I love about baseball, and this is another rule that adds another element of strategy for managers and organizations in general, I think.
Thank you. Jake, I'm up for your running. I'm also going.
Oh.
going.
You just said for me.
Well, I can't vote for myself, right? We gotta vote for someone else. Can't look suspicious over here.
Well, now it's time to throw my hat in the ring now. With my strategy. I guess we're all heading for commissioner. Sorry, Rob. We're not just countering.
Yeah, you were countering.
We're coming for your job.
We're
just taking your job. But with my strategy, it all depends on the amount of runs that a pitcher gives up in a start. So I think 5 innings more than 6 is the quality start limit. And I think he has to go the 5 innings if he gives up at least 4 runs or below. I think he has to get to that 5-inning mark. You see so many teams where they have maybe 4th or 5th starting pitchers. They go like 4 innings, 80 pitches. They give up 2 runs, and they're already out of the game. They get a long person. I don't want to see that. So I do want to see starters at least get to that quality start, because I think quality starts are something that has gone away, and wins and losses for starters has gone away. So I think 4 runs or less, they need to stay in the game. But if the game is a blowout, no one wants to watch a pitcher have to go through 5 more innings. They give up 5 or 6 runs in the first inning. So I think it all depends on the runs to get to the amount that we need here for pitchers.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. So you shorten it by 1, you make it a 5-inning, which is more doable. So I already like that more.
Yeah.
And then, so if I'm hearing you correctly, that means you said 4 innings by the 5th. 4 runs, excuse me,
By the 5th, yeah.
given up by the 5th. You said take them out. Would that be maybe in the 3rd inning if you've given up?
4 runs, maybe. I don't know what we could do. 3, 4 runs, whatever we talk about.
Okay.
It's a little tweak that we have
Yeah,
to make.
softball mercy rule is what I'm thinking here.
Yeah, inning by inning.
Certain runs by inning kind of situation.
Yeah, if it's 3, if it's 2 or 3, maybe not 2, 3 in the first inning, you'd be like, okay, maybe you can pull them, and then okay, yeah. I think they're all better than the original.
Exactly.
So who do you think should be the commissioner of baseball? You can let us know.
Going all the way to the top. Let us know.
Who's getting your vote? But we're going to move on to our next segment, which is about fantasy football season. The NFL is starting. And with that, means everyone, including ourselves, are doing fantasy football drafts. But people who have the first overall pick are usually kind of nervous. There's a lot of pressure that comes with the first overall pick. And we realized through Jake Abel's stats that he has done that there's a little bit of a curse that comes with the consensus number 1 overall picks. And most of them don't turn out to being the value that you get at number 1. So Jake, go into your the stats that you researched there.
Yes, I did some research. I'm really into fantasy football this season especially. And, if you've had the first overall pick in PPR drafts the past 10 years, you might have finished that season being like, man, I wish I didn't take that guy.
Yeah.
And you're not crazy, because the data proves that it hasn't been worth it. The consensus number 1 guy in PPR leagues by average draft position has not panned out 8 of the past 10 years. That's not good, obviously.
Yeah.
The only 2 times was in 2018, Todd Gurley, and I believe 2016, Antonio Brown. Those guys finished in the top 10 of fantasy scoring. So Todd Gurley finished 4th his year, so he was obviously worth the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
But a lot of these guys, we go back last year. Justin Jefferson was the overall consensus number 1 pick. He was playing great, but then gets injured, only plays 10 games. He was on pace to be one of the best in fantasy, but he's injured, and he doesn't finish well because he can't play. That happens a lot. Injury is the main theme here. The year before Justin Jefferson, it was Jonathan Taylor. Same thing. Injuries, didn't play as well. He started to fall off a little bit. A lot of other guys. Christian McCaffrey, this happened to twice. 2 years in a row. He gets injured back-to-back, even though he was the number 1 overall consensus pick. his points per game, he was totally worth it, but he only played 3 games. I mean, it just wasn't worth it. Adrian Peterson, LaShawn McCoy, all these picks that just seem like surefire home runs.
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley even one year. They didn't pan out the next. Out of all the guys I just mentioned, the last 10 guys, only 2, Antonio Brown and Todd Gurley, have finished top 25 in total fantasy points.
That's incredible.
That's not even worth a second-round pick if you picked any of those other guys.
Yeah.
So with all that, we come to this year. Christian McCaffrey, once again, his 3rd time in his career, he has been pegged as the consensus number 1 overall pick by lots of average draft position in leagues that have already drafted and fantasy experts. Do you take the risk on Christian McCaffrey, or, knowing this data, do you pivot elsewhere? And if you pivot, to who?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Christian McCaffrey is always very injury prone, as you just brought up. And when you have the 1st overall pick, you want to feel safe that this guy is going to produce. That's why no one wants the 1st round pick, because it's tough to take a risk with that 1st overall pick. You want the value to last. And right now, other than Christian McCaffrey, you wouldn't really take another running back at number 1. This is a very deep receiver class. CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, among others, you would take this high. And I do think there's better value from a safe perspective, like a Tyreek Hill, someone who probably is going to get guaranteed have a really good season this year. When you have Christian McCaffrey, who, yes, hasn't been injured yet, for the most part, a part of the 49ers, you don't know when that injury could come, and that leaves you as a fantasy owner very nervous.
Yeah, and guys, I mean, I don't want to say I'm going to be jumping into a pool of sharks anytime soon, but I'm taking on the risk here. I'm looking at the stats. Jake, you did a phenomenal job going through all the stats. But I'm looking at Christian McCaffrey from the situation in San Francisco. You brought up the depth to Max and the position as well. And, I mean, Brock Purdy, there's still a lot of questions on who he is as a quarterback, especially in the big games. He's going to be relying heavily on McCaffrey and what he does dynamically, not only as a running back, but as also a receiver in the pass game. I think he's going to be producing those points. So for me, I'm still taking Christian McCaffrey. I'm going to assume the risk, and I know, but I am under the impression that injuries can happen to anyone, and I know you kind of look back on the history of all these guys, but I know McCaffrey has more, and as you mentioned, Jake, in those years when he was the consensus pick, he had a lot more mileage. He had those injuries, but I am still taking them, knowing the risks involved, signing the contract. I would still take him at number 1.
No, Jacob, I understand. I want to start out by saying I understand. If this was a Madden league and I could turn injuries off, Christian McCaffrey, no doubt about it, I'm taking first. But life just doesn't turn injuries off, though. That's
not real life.
Yeah, that's unfortunately not how it works. Yeah. And so while Christian McCaffrey, who knows if he gets hurt this year, but through the data, all of the guys, it's common sense, but all the guys that got picked 1st overall in their draft, they were coming off great seasons. And what do you have to do to have a great season that earns you that right? You have to touch the ball a lot. You have to get a lot of carries. And it's proven when running backs especially get a lot of touches one year, it's hard to keep the longevity up, and they break down pretty quickly. I think Christian McCaffrey has all the talent, and if you take him, when he plays, he will 100% be worth it. Yeah. It's just, do I trust that? And I just don't, based off the data. But it's happened before. Todd Gurley was worth it that one year. So it's completely it's not a bad take at all. Yeah. If I'm picking, there's a couple of people I'm looking at. I'm looking at the receivers. They're less injury prone to me, even though Justin Jefferson got injured last year. But we won't talk about that. You have him as an option. You have Tyreek Hill, like you mentioned, Max. CeeDee Lamb is really interesting. He actually finished number 1 in total points the entire year last year, but he's in a holdout situation right now. Who knows if he shows up week 1? They don't have a contract extension. That scares me a little bit. Jamar Chase is another option. Out of that group, I agree with Max. I like Tyreek Hill's safety. I think he was named the number one player in all of the NFL by the NFL player poll.
Wow.
I know that's not, but like, he's a top 3 receiver in anyone's eyes.
Yeah. Yes.
He has the longevity of doing it many years. He's not a flash in the pan. We know he's going to show up. He has a good offense where it's not just him. There's Waddle. Yeah. There's A-Chain and Mostert. I trust Tua to get him the ball as well, though. He's clearly the number 1 target. I like his safety and also his upside. A lot of those guys, I don't think there's a wrong pick, but he feels the safest to me. So, looks like 2 votes for Tyreek and 1 for CMC.
Looks like it.
Yeah. I mean, the only question that I have to I kind of wrap this up is the depth at running back. Does that creep into your mind at all with McCaffrey?
It does, because I was about to say, too, we're in a league where there's no more 3-down running backs anymore. Yeah. And Christian McCaffrey is kind of the lone guy. And as a fantasy owner, we all have the experience of when your running back's out of the game. It is stressful. It is annoying. And you don't
had Bijan last
year. You don't want that feeling. And talk about Bijan, it's really him and Breece Hall who you would take at the 2 or 3 slot at running back. And those guys have never proven to be 3-down backs in the NFL. So there is a lot of security in the fact of McCaffrey will be on the field that much. Problem is that also leads to injuries, which is why I wouldn't take him number 1.
Yeah, if I'm devil's advocate and playing for Jacob's point with CMC, if you get Chase, Hill, Lamb, Jefferson, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, A.J. Brown, they're all so good. I'd be happy with any of them. Obviously, I have my favorites and none. CMC is by far a tier above the Breece Halls and the Bijan Robinsons and the Jahmyr Gibbs, that second tier. So if you're really high, you need that running back you want, then you can get better wide receiver talent later on. But I would say, if I have number 1 pick, I wouldn't want it. If you're in a place where your league allows you to trade draft picks, maybe you're in a dynasty league, maybe your league just allows you to make trades pre-draft, I'd try to trade out of that number 1 pick. Listen, if I'm at the 6th pick, and I get Chase, I get Justin Jefferson, maybe I even get Bijan there if I still want to go running back, then you get a better 2nd round pick as well, instead of taking CMC or even Tyreek Hill. If I the difference between Hill and maybe Chase is a lot smaller than CMC and Bijan, but there's less injury risks with those wide receivers. I'd rather be in the middle of the round or 11 or 12 towards the end of the first round. But with that wrapped up, we do have, I've been waiting for this, guys. We're going to have a very fun twist on possibly one of your childhood favorite games, and maybe it's still one of your favorite games. And it's time for Family Feud. I'm your host, Jake the Harvey Gable, and today we have 2 contestants. Our first one coming from Pennville, Pennsylvania. Did I get it wrong?
Penn Valley.
Penn Valley, Pennsylvania is Max Denenberg. Penn Valley. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
Our next competitor coming from Danville, Pennsylvania, Jacob Smedley. No cheers for Smedley.
Shocker.
Whoa!
I take the underdog.
Whoa! Hey, before we get into anything, if you've never seen this before, because this is the first time we're doing this, we are playing Family Feud, but we're playing with a little bit of a different rules here. It's all sports questions, and they're all going to be according to Ranker.com's results. So that's how our survey is, 1 through 8 for every category, and you're going to have points assigned for each one. Then it's normal Family Feud rule styles. We're going to have 3 rounds, and whoever has the most points at the end of those rounds is going to be our winner. You guys ready?
I'm born for this.
I'm born for this. I'm
Shake
ready.
Hands.
All right.
Good luck, sir.
Good luck. Good luck.
All right. Our first question. You can tap in Whenever, first attack, it's the first quick guess.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
According to Ranker, who are the greatest out-of-shape athletes of all time? Jacob Smedley.
Glenn Davis. Glenn Big Baby Davis.
That is incorrect.
Daniel Vogelback.
Incorrect. We'll go until we have our first correct.
Oh my goodness.
You don't need to buzz in.
You're up.
Kyle Schwarber.
Incorrect.
Alejandro Kirk.
Incorrect. This is all time, by the way. Just want to say. Yeah.
John Daly.
Boom! We have our first pick. He was in the number 3 slot.
Okay.
All right.
We're gonna really kill this.
So
here.
15 points on the board for Smedley. I'll join you over here. All right. You have 3 X's now until you hit, 3 strikes. And then Max has a chance to steal by just getting 1 person. So you have John Daly. You have control over the board. Who is your first guess?
Jake, I'm going to go with Zion Williamson.
Surprisingly not on the list. That is your first X.
Okay. Oh, man.
These guys. Listen.
These guys.
I will say, think all time. Think all time. Both of you.
I don't know if that helps.
Man. Charles Barkley, Jake.
There we go, Jacob. You are on the board. Number 2, Charles Barkley. That's 20 points for you. You have number 2 and 3 gone. You're still up. 1 strike.
I'm going to go with his TNT partner, Shaquille O'Neal.
There you go, Jacob. Shaquille O'Neal, number 6. That's 8 points for you. You're looking at, 35, 43 points.
I'm going to stick in the NBA,
too.
Jake. I'm going to go with Zach Zebo Randolph.
He did not make the list, unfortunately. So you're down to your last strike.
Oh, no.
Max can steal all of your points if you get this one wrong.
Oh, man. I'm going to go with...
Time's a ticking.
Is it?
It is. I don't have a timer, but I'll punch.
David Ortiz, Jake.
I'm not on the list. He came in 9th on the list. You were 1 away. So that's 3 strikes for Smedley. All right.
Oh, no.
Switch spots here.
12 seconds later.
You either win it or you lose.
That's also true. Thanks
So,
for keeping me optimistic on
You
here.
steal all of his points if you can just get any of them
I know.
correct.
I know.
Who is your steal choice?
Oh God, I couldn't think of one the whole time. I'll think. Oh, man.
You weren't thinking that entire time.
I won. I couldn't think of one.
You're missing the number 1 on the list.
I know, but
You have
this is
2, 3, and 6.
It's just tough to think about. I'll go with an NBA player, Andrew Bynum.
Incorrect.
Wow.
Jacob,
Ah.
you win this round.
Switch sides.
Let's go over. You guys can stay here for right
okay,
now.
okay.
We'll go over the ones you missed.
Yeah.
Coming in at 8, we had Vince Wilfork. Vince Wilfork. Number 7, Prince Fielder. Prince Fielder, the big home run hitter. Number 5,
Of course.
William the Fridge Pig.
Oh my God!
Refrigerator.
Oh, I was just in basketball
Me
mode
too.
the whole
Once you
time.
said that-
Yeah.
Number 4, Bartolo
Oh,
Colon.
sexy! How could I forget about
And
that?
number 1, Babe Ruth.
Oh,
What?
that's great Bambino.
A great
Oh.
Bambino. Should have been laying off those hot
Disappointed in
dogs.
Looks like he
myself.
should have been.
All right, on to round 2.
Okay.
All right, get ready to buzz in. Jacob in the lead with 43 points.
Okay.
According to Ranker, who are the biggest floppers in the NBA today? Jacob, you're
LeBron
first.
James.
LeBron James is number 1.
Nice. Congrats.
You cannot steal a higher position, so switch sides. Jacob, you have control of the board.
A few moments later.
All right, you have the number 1. You got 3 strikes again. You know how this works. Your next guess.
I'm gonna go with Marcus Smart, Jake.
Marcus Smart is in the 4. 12 points for Smedley.
Okay. My next answer is one of our favorites, Joel Embiid.
Joel Embiid comes in at that 3 spot.
That's a good one.
You've got 1, 3, and 4. You're doing a really good job. No X's so far.
I'm going to go with Jason Tatum.
Not on the list. That's going to be your first X.
That was a good guess.
Okay. Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Another one not on the list. You got 2 strikes. Hot start. You're starting to simmer off. Remember, all these players are currently still playing in the NBA today.
Next one.
Important one. Max can steal.
PJ Tucker, Jake.
Is not on the list. You got a couple, but switch sides. Max has the opportunity to steal here.
Yeah. I
Who
hope
are
this
you
is
going
true
with?
because I felt this way the whole series. Jalen Brunson.
Not on the list. I mean, hey, I like the Brunson one. I think he's too new to it to
I guess.
make that,
I
but
just thought recency
I can't
bias.
believe you guys didn't get number 2. Ridiculous. Let's go through it, though.
Wow.
Jacob, you win this one again.
God.
25 plus 15
Rough
plus
one.
12. That's going to be 42 points to your 43. You're sitting at 85 points. I can do math.
There you go.
So you still have a chance to win.
I
if you get more
appreciate
than 85 points.
I'll try to get
in the
there.
8th spot. Draymond Green.
Oh, my.
Oh, why did I not?
Wow.
Number 7. He plays in Philadelphia. Kyle Lowry.
Oh.
You know, in his prime, I think he
Yeah.
was higher, but he's older now. Number
That's why I wasn't
6.
thinking.
Trey Young.
Okay.
Trey Young.
When you get here, it's just tough.
Yeah.
Number 5. Chris Paul. Chris
Okay.
Paul.
Okay.
OG answer. Number 2. Guys, how did you not get James Harden?
Oh.
The beard.
Oh man, I was thinking about it. I was
under the
thinking,
lights, it's tough to pick.
that's
No, it's
yeah. Well, the
It's
pressure is
okay.
on. All
Pressure really is on.
right.
Jacob Smedley's in the lead with 85 points, but surprisingly, that's not enough to give him the win yet.
Thank you.
Max still has the opportunity to win this game in our final round.
Yes.
Get ready to hit those buzzers. The
Okay.
last question.
You
All right.
break every time.
According to Ranker,
Mhm.
who are the coolest players in the NFL right now? Jacob.
Justin Jefferson.
That's number 1.
What?
What? 25 points on the board. Pass or play?
I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna
What?
pass.
That's so ridiculous.
Max, listen up. If you sweep this board, you win.
I understand that.
And you have 3 strikes.
Oh,
All right.
my
I want to see your knowledge,
I wanna
Max.
see it.
Yeah. This is all time or this is current?
Every player's current.
Current.
This is right now.
Okay. Let's start with Jalen Hurts.
Right off that list. At number 9, that's your first
Oh,
X.
I was saying that too.
Yeah, I thought everyone's he's in all the commercials. Well, there's one, but he gets a lot of hate, so I don't know if he would be cool. Travis Kelce.
Surprisingly not on the list.
I only got one right. Of cool NFL players.
This is your last one, or Jacob will win.
Yeah, the whole game. Oh God, I'm thinking offensive for some reason, but I should be thinking defense. What was that look?
What was what look?
What was that look?
What was what look?
I'm just talking out loud.
All right, and I was just looking at things.
Oh man, cool NFL players. Jeez. So tough. I'm trying to go through it really quickly. How much time do I have left, host?
No, just go.
Let's go.
No, just go. Oh my God.
Gonna need an answer, Max.
This is really difficult.
5, 4, 3.
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill is number 5 on the list. He stays alive. 10 points there for Max.
Keeps me in it.
You still have lots of players to go through.
George Kittle.
Is not on the list.
Wow, everyone likes his
Three
outfit.
X's did not make the cut.
Congrats.
Jacob, you already won, but do you want a chance to steal anyway?
I'll go for the steal.
All right. Come on over. Who
Jake,
are
I
you
have
putting?
a player in mind. I'm going to go with Sauce Gardner for the New York Jets.
No, please.
No.
Oh,
Sauce didn't
wow.
make it.
Wow.
Surprisingly, no defensive players made this
Wow.
list.
Wow.
Okay.
So,
No.
at number eight, we had the king himself, Derrick Henry.
What?
Wow.
Number
Cool.
7, DK Metcalf.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see that.
Number 6, Lamar Jackson, the MVP of the league.
Yeah.
Number 4, Christian McCaffrey made it. I was surprised by
That's
that.
that high?
Yeah. Number 3, these two guys. I'm disappointed in you. I understand DK and Derrick Henry. These
You're
two
just
should have
disappointed
got-
us in general. It
Oh,
seems
yeah.
like,
Just
Jake.
say it.
Number 3, Joe Burrow.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Joe,
And
yeah.
number
Joe
2,
Shiesty?
his
Oh.
wide receiver, Jamar Chase.
Yeah, tough round
That's
for me.
tough.
I won a round, so that's a win
Yes.
for me.
There
you
we
actually
go.
did win those points.
Thank you.
You got Jefferson and Hill, so that'll give you 35 points. It was 85 to 35. Jacob does come out on top. We don't have fast money because I don't have money to give either of you.
Ah.
But that does bring us to not only the end of our Family Feud segment, but also the end of the podcast as well. Man, I had a lot of fun in this one. I don't know about you guys, but
It was great to win. It was great to win.
It was great to win a round. It was great to win a
Yeah, it
round.
was fun. It was
hey,
a lot of
we're
fun.
winners all
A lot
around,
of fun.
some-
Yeah.
some more than others.
A lot of fun.
But that will do it for the Renegades podcast. Episode 2. I hope you guys enjoyed it a lot because we sure did.
Yeah, and
Great
please be sure to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Comment down below. What are your thoughts on any of the topics we discussed, and what other games do you want to see us play, sports related, as well as liking the video as well. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, and stay tuned for short videos on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube as well. We got more content on the way.
Yeah, that will do it. So, for my 2 contestants and also my 2 co-hosts, Jacob Smedley, our winner, Max Dinenberg, he tried hard. I'm Jake Gable, and we'll see you next time on the Renegades Sports Podcast.